Wild Abundance School for Homesteading and Permaculture presents Passive Solar Design with Natalie Bogwalker.
So, having a floor that is mass can be really awesome. What are some floors that y'all can think of that are mass? So concrete floors.
Earth.
Totally. Earthen floors. Yes. Slate floors. Yeah, would totally work. What about tile?
Depends on the tile.
If it's dark, so that's one really important thing that I want to put forth about mass, is that you want your mass to be dark in color. Because is your mass, what happens if you touch a white rock that's been out all day in the sun? It reflects the heat. It's still going to be probably a little warmer than some other leaf or something, but you want to have dark colored mass. I've seen people do tile floors in white tile, and I'm like, what are you doing?
I want to clean that anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I think they got a really good deal on it. So dark colors. It doesn't have to be black. Terracotta is actually a fairly dark color. It's going to absorb a lot of heat. Does that make sense to you? So tile can work, but if you're using tile, you want to have like a fairly, like you might want to put a couple sheets of the hardy board under it so that you have a little bit more mass under the tile. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, because most tiles are pretty thin.
Yeah, most tiles are thin. And a chunkier tile will be better. You don't want to have way too much mass, because if you have like this much mass in your floor, is that going to heat up during the day? No, it's not going to heat up. I mean, it's going to heat up, but the amount of heat, the amount of sunlight that it takes to heat up that much is not, you're not going to get that much sun during the day on a winter day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and would the heat like distribute down into the mass and take it away from where your feet are touching?
Exactly. And then your feet are touching a 50-degree surface that is not very fun for your feet to touch anyway, and you feel cold, and you're like, what the hell? I thought this was a passive solar house. So I think about 3 inches is a really good thing. And when you're doing your mass, so this is your mass, you want there to be some insulation under your mass.
So the heat doesn't escape underneath that.
So the heat doesn't escape.
Natalie,
From the
just
bottom.
specifically floors for now, correct?
Yeah, but also walls. I mean, I would want to have insulation.
Yeah. But sorry, I was talking about the 3 inches, etc. That you
3 inches.
originally.
Yeah. 2 inches, 1 inch, they're all great. Just not a foot. Okay, so now I'm going to shift gears. Anyone have any questions about this?
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you know the angle, how do you determine the length of your overhang?
This is a good question. So, what I did with my cabin, and there's also like computer programs that can figure this out for you. Like you can, we live in this world where there are computers, and the computers can do amazing things, and you can do all your drawings on computers. I, however, still have 1 foot in the Stone Age. And it's a lot easier to teach classes where people are working on paper rather than having to have AutoCAD for all the students, which, who wants to learn AutoCAD here? I'm sure some of you do. But the vast majority of people, like, that would be the whole class, would be doing AutoCAD. So we're just using one. So, when you are figuring out how far out that roof overhang should go, let's say you have a window opening, and you can do this ahead of time with the drawing, or you can do it in space. So you have a window opening, and then you have your wall above your window opening, and okay, and then you have, let's say this is going all the way to 4. So then, what you're gonna do, okay, I want somebody to look at the charts and figure out when I want to exclude the summer sun. When I want to start excluding sun, and what angle at which. What is the angle at which I want to start excluding sun?
You know, it's talking about the afternoon sun being the hottest of the day.
It is, but we'll talk. That's not relevant for what we're doing right now.
Well, if this chart only is going from June 25 to December 21st, you're gonna
So-
just want to go a little further.
Well, no, that's because that's half the year, and the sun is the same. The sun doesn't have 2 different sets. The sun is the same from the equinox to the equinox. From fall to spring equinox, it's the same but just flipped as from fall to spring equinox. Does that make sense to everybody? So that's why the chart only gives you half the year. So it's saying at the very lowest is December 21st. So December 21st is when? The winter solstice. And when is June 21st? The summer solstice. So it's the highest in the sun, June 21st, and it's the lowest, December 21st. So what I'm going to say is we're going to want to look at this 36-degree line, and we're going to try to figure out where would May be. So I'm going to say it's going to be about halfway, a little less than halfway, to the beginning of May. So I'm going to look at 36 degrees, and I'm going to say, so I'm going to say that it's going to be at about 60 degrees that we want to start excluding the sun. Does that make sense to you? So at 60 degrees, here's my opening. And then I'm going to use my thing here. And I'm going to draw a line between here and here with my very accurate markers and situation here on the board. And so this is the area that it really matters that I have. Okay, so see this line coming up? So I put my board at 60 degrees, and then that's where I want my roof overhang to go to. Because anything coming on at a steeper angle, I want to exclude. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a pretty simple way to do it. Cool. So like on the cabin, I had a Claire story, and the Claire story, went like this. And I added a little knee roof that went like that.
The what?
This is it's called a little knee roof. A knee.
Does it look like a knee?
It's a little extra thing. You also have knee walls that are just like short walls. It's like a short little addition thing.
If you screw up the overhang, can you redo it?
You can redo everything. It would be a heck of a lot easier to redo it if it was a little add-on like this. It would be a lot harder to redo it if it's tied into the rest of your roof.
Okay, yeah.
And something I want to mention too with overhangs is you can just add a little overhang. Like let's say I have a we're not doing it for you. Let's say I have a roof here, and then I have a window that's way down here. And so if I wanted to have a roof overhang that functioned for this window, it would have to be like really big. But what I can do is, let's say I had this here, and then I had a window here, and then I had a wall, and then I had another window here. Could I just add a little roof overhang right there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or an awning?
Awning.
Awnings are pretty cool. Okay, we are going to take, I think we have successfully touched. Okay, you guys see that?
Yeah, good.
So, aside from my protruding belly, did I get much sun on me?
Nope.
No. Okay, now I want you to do the winter sun. And the winter sun is much lower in the sky, for one thing, and it sets and rises in a different place. So to see the angle of the sun in the wintertime, we're going to look at page 3. And I think we're right at like 45 degrees. I think that's where we are. So let's say we're at 45 degrees. And so in the winter sun, you guys see this is the sun range for a particular latitude. So if we're, let's actually have, I don't know why I didn't look it up this morning, but I think it's 35 to 45. Let's say it's 40. So our range is, in the winter, the sun is so low. In the winter, the sun only goes up to about 30 degrees. Isn't that crazy? Really? So the sun is only like that much on the horizon.
Wow.
Someone can look up on their phone our latitude here, and then we'd have like
It's
a much
about
more.
36. They have a little diagram on
Okay.
this page.
Okay,
Yeah.
so 36. Look, I was right. Amazing. Okay, so 36 degrees is actually one of these numbers. So that at winter solstice, the highest the sun gets is 30 degrees in the sky. Isn't that crazy? And so, if you have a bunch of trees or a hill that go up 30 degrees from your house, how are you doing? Not too good. Okay, so I want you to demonstrate, and I will be the same passive solar house, and you're gonna start right there, and you're gonna go to right there, and you're gonna start at the ground, and you are only gonna come up 30 degrees, so you'll come up to like here. Well, maybe here. Yeah. Okay, you guys ready? That's more than 30 degrees. Yeah. Does this make sense to y'all?
You got some sun.
I got a lot of sun. I got bathed in sunlight. And when did I get bathed in sunlight?
In the winter.
In the winter time. When do you want to be bathed in sunlight?
In the winter time.
When do you want to be warm and toasty?
In the winter.
In the winter.
In the winter. Okay, so passive solar can be the primary heat source of a building. The primary heat source. Like I was mentioning, our neighbors over there that have, notice their house is facing exactly south. And they are in a big open area. So they only burn their wood stove about 5 days in the year. They don't necessarily have the same needs for coziness that I have. If they did, they might be burning it a little bit more. So they have all these windows, and they have a roof overhang that blocks the sun from coming in when?
In summer.
In the summer. And lets it in when?
In the winter.
In the winter. You have got it. So people have known about passive solar for a very long time. Has anyone ever gone and visited any of the cliff dwellings?
Yeah.
In the southwest? So, an amazing thing, there's cliff dwellings face south. And they have
Over.
an overhang. So this is basically a cliff dwelling, and then there's like the whole village in the cliff dwelling. And so, and this might actually come in. So in the summertime, the sun is blocked from coming into the cliff dwelling. In the wintertime, the sun comes in and heats up all their rock stuff. So,
How did they know?
well, maybe they observed.
Ooh.
Maybe they saw, a rock. When the sun shines on the rock, it stays warm. I mean, this is really, there's most architects in this country have apparently not made this observation.
Abandoned.
And so, do we want to learn from most architects who haven't made this observation, or do we want to learn from the cliff dwellers?
Yeah, look like it.
Yeah, cliff dwellers. That's who we want to learn from. And so, massive amounts of energy every year are being put into.
Dude, you're rocking in the chair.
Massive amounts of energy are being put into heating and cooling.
Yeah.
And this is not just about heating. Passive solar is not just about heating. Passive solar is about cooling too, or about not getting hot. Like my parents, I grew up in the country, but since we were out of the house and they don't feel the need to be in the country anymore, they live now in the suburbs. And, you know, streets in the suburbs, do they orient the houses so that they're oriented to the south?
No, to the road.
So that you can control,
No, they cram as many houses in
whichever
a
way
little
they
space
cram
as
they
them in.
possible.
cram as many houses as they can in. And are they concerned with which way the windows are facing?
No.
No, they have some model of house that they just kind of plunk onto the lot. They might be somewhat concerned with how the land lies, but not that much. They're mostly just concerned with having access from the road to the garage. And so, my parents' house, in the summertime, the sun shines right into the windows. In the wintertime, the sun doesn't shine into the windows at all. Anyone ever live in a house like this? Yeah, it's a pretty common thing. So, this is a concept that is so simple and can save so much energy, but it's one that is not even considered with, I would say, 95% of the building in this country. Isn't that crazy? And people have known about this for thousands of years.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's totally crazy. Totally crazy. So I'm going to go a little bit more into how you can make this work. So if you are building a house, and y'all have actually a really nice picture of this, I believe, on the next page. Oh, yeah. Yeah, on page 6, 7, 5. On page 5. The scans are not completely easy to read, so I'm going to draw this out too. So, let's do this. Oh, we could even do the cabin. That would be fun. Okay, so let's say you have a little cabin that you want to build. So this cabin is a clear story, and so that's what this sort of design is. It's basically 2 shed roofs. You guys see that? And it's actually a pretty good design for passive solar. So when you have, the idea is that you want to block, you want to reflect the summer sun and not let it into your windows. But you want to let all of your winter sun into your windows. You guys see that? So, how are you going to do that?
I think the tiny house you can turn it. Turn it on.
Well, I'd rather just do it with these roof overhangs. Isn't that easy? How much work is it to put these little roof overhangs on?
Not that much.
Do you think it's very hard to take a board and look at those tables in there and figure out, like, what month do you want to stop the sun from coming in? Here, do you think?
Do you?
July.
I would say I want it out in June. I want it out in July. I want it out in August. I probably want it out in May here.
Yeah.
If I was up in Boone, maybe I wouldn't want it out in May. So what I would do is I would figure out my latitude and I would look at the table and figure out when I want to start letting the sun in. You might want to start letting the sun in, or when you want to stop letting the sun in. You might want to start stopping letting the sun in the beginning of May. And by the end of May, you want no sun in. Does that make sense? And then you're going to take a board and you are going to look at the angles, and you will soon, or maybe I should just show you now, figure out how to figure out those angles with a speedy square. Who brought a speedy square here?
Yeah.
Anyone have it with them right here? Yes. So you're going to figure out the angles with the speedy square, and you're going to use a board, and you're going to see where that sun is shining down on your building. Because that sun, when it comes in, do you want it to hit wood?
You want it back?
You want it to hit mass if it's coming in the wintertime, because what's that mass going to do?
Absorb it.
It's going to absorb it, and it's going to radiate it back into the room later. And so, this tool is so cool. It's so cool. So, do y'all see all of these angles here? See how it says degrees? Well, what you can do is you can have this tool on a level surface. Like, say, the top of a window frame, and you can make a line for the summer sun coming in and the winter sun coming in. Does that make sense? It's pretty awesome. It has all those degrees, but you need this to be level, because otherwise it's not, doesn't. Does that make sense? Yeah. Awesome. And so, what did I do here in my cabin?
You put that slate, didn't
I
you?
put the slate. And in my cabin, I put a stone countertop here. I put a stone windowsill that actually gets most of the sun from the winter. And then it steps down, and then it's a stone countertop. This is actually my window opening is like here. So I'm catching all that winter sun. It doesn't even get to the floor. It's just caught in that stone countertop. Isn't that cool? And my house is not even a super, it's not really in a great passive solar site. But even though it's not in a great passive solar site, I have gotten as much mass and heat, mass in the right place to catch the heat as possible. So, pretty cool stuff. So, okay, that is roof overhangs and thermal mass. Awesome. So, everybody understand roof overhangs and thermal mass? Okay, I'm going to do another. You have a house here. That doesn't look like a house. This looks like a house. Okay, if you have a house here, the easiest way to do that whole roof overhang thing that I was talking about is if your house faces exactly what direction? South. Exactly south. If your house is facing east or your house is facing west, can you control the sun coming in with roof overhangs? Because the sun rises and sets in those directions. Does that make sense to y'all?
Oh, wow.
And so, for your east and your west, you need to have other strategies for excluding sun than roof overhangs. So those other strategies that you might have, can anyone think of any other strategies that you might have for excluding sun?
Blind.
Trees.
Trees. Okay. So the sun that we want, the sun that we are most interested in, and y'all could look at your chart to figure out the exact ones that say this is south, this is west, this is east, this is north. Do we care about the sun that's here? No, we only care about letting in our. You are going away. We care about our sun to the south. And so what can we do here and here and here?
Solar panels.
I was thinking more planting trees,
Trees.
or having mountains. Does that make sense?
Wait, I'm confused. Is this from like a
We're looking
Look
from a
down.
bird's eye view.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is south. So this is the sun that we want. So in the winter time, do we want anything blocking the sun coming in from any of these angles?
Oh.
No, we don't. And so
Deciduous trees.
we could have some deciduous trees though in this area. Do we want to have any evergreen trees here though?
No.
Where do we want our evergreen trees? Anywhere over here. And so here we can still plant deciduous trees, but that's fine for passive solar, but for solar panels, you don't want deciduous trees in the
Absolutely.
anywhere in the range, because even the spindly little branches will decrease the efficiency of your solar panel significantly. So you want to plant like crazy over here and over here. And that is going to make it so that your summer sun is not coming in your windows. Does that make sense? Where do you think you want the majority of the windows on your house? On the south side. Because that's where you can control the heat. But do you think it's very pleasant to be in a room that only has windows on one side? No, not at all. And so, even though you want the majority of your windows on your south side, you want some windows on your east and your west. And the cabin has 0 windows on the north. Although the addition does have a window on the north. Because sometimes the light on two sides of a room trumps the fact that it's kind of silly to put a window on the north side. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Cool. So you guys get this?
Yeah, but kind of like not the reasoning behind it.
Okay. Anyone want to explain the reasoning behind it? Do you want to let sun in that? Do you want to let all the winter sun in that you possibly can?
I mean, I get that part, but I just don't get like what the sun's actually doing, so that like why you would block all the sun from the east, north, and west.
Were you here when we did that demonstration?
Oh,
Oh, that's why you don't get it.
Okay,
So you
sorry.
can talk to other people.
Okay, thanks.
My pleasure. Okay, so anyone who was here during the demonstration not get it?
Misconception. There would be much sun coming from the east and west period during your winter months.
There isn't
Right.
sun coming from. I mean, they're coming from southeast and southwest. There's winter sun coming in. It's not all just coming from the south, but it's not coming in the winter from the northeast and the northwest, or even from due east and due west.
I got you now.
And if you do the reading, you'll catch up too.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay, so any other questions? You guys get it, huh? It's not that complicated, is it? And now you know more about passive solar than it seems like a lot of the architects in this country. And definitely more than 85% of builders. Isn't that crazy? Good thing you're here. Okay. So, does anyone want to build a house with no conception of passive solar at this point in their life? No, because it's so easy. It makes so much sense. Cool. So we are going to be done with the passive solar.
This water's flowing right
Okay, cool. Turn it way down.
This video was made by Wild Abundance, where we teach skills for self-sufficiency, like homesteading, permaculture, woodcraft, wild foods, and tiny house and natural building, all in the beautiful mountains around Asheville, North Carolina. Check out wildabundance.net to learn more about our classes and consultations.